Welcome to Cinema Convos. This is the show where we bring guests with different tastes in film to have a meaningful discussion about the art of cinema. I'm your host, Yash, and I'm here with my co host, Zach, and our special guests, Ryan and Samid. Today, we're discussing the topic of physical media, primarily physical media for movies, however, also branching out to physical media as a whole. And to get started, I wanted to ask some intro questions. Starting with the first question I have for you guys is, what's your favorite piece of physical media that you own?
Yeah, that has to be a hard one. But
Yeah.
for me, it has to be, I would say, my collection of steelbooks that I started to collect from 2014. And the first one I got was The Edge of Tomorrow, the Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt's movie, because I got it from free from work. And that was my first steelbook. And since then, that has to be my favorite one. And plus, it's a really great movie. So that to me will be my favorite.
Yeah, Samid is definitely the steelbook king. He puts my steelbook collection to shame for sure. I have like five or six total, maybe. So, what about you, Ryan? What do you have a favorite? I know it's hard to pick.
Yeah, dude, it's so difficult because of like just how huge my physical media collection is. But I'm the Criterion guy. I've always have been a Criterion dude. I love Criterion since high school. So probably my favorite, man. It's got to be this Paris, Texas Criterion right here.
That's
Man,
awesome.
it's my favorite
That's
film.
nice.
I never saw it until I bought the Criterion. It's my mom's heard it from as well, and she told me about it. So I just on a whim just bought the Criterion because I knew it would be good for some reason. I just knew it. I watched it with her and it was great. And I've seen this film like 6 times in like 4 years. So this has got a lot of watch play out of it. And I just love this film a lot. It means a lot to me. So
Yeah,
it's
and when I
probably
saw Paris, Texas, I saw it on that copy with you. So that
yeah.
was earlier this year, and I actually picked up Paris, Texas on Criterion as well during the July sale. So that's pretty cool. I'm also a big Criterion fan. I know me and Ryan will always inform each other of the sales that are
Yeah.
kind of ongoing throughout the year. Um, and also for me, I mean, I have a massive collection of movies, and it's very difficult to pick a favorite. It's like choosing your favorite child. Like who is my favorite? So I would say I thinking about it though, I do think I have an answer. I would say my Blu-ray of Inception is one of my favorites just because it was one of the first movies I bought on Blu-ray. It's just like a movie I've used that Blu-ray probably the most. Like I've watched it so many times on that specific physical copy. I have the movie on 4K now, but that's probably one of the most special ones to me. Another collection that I would have to say is part of this like three-way tie that I'm thinking of is it's like a box set of Harry Potter 1 through 5, and it's like in a little like red trunk. It looks like the trunks they have in the movies. I think that's always been a cool like just case for like a box of movies. And the third one would be my favorite Criterion that I have, which is for Marriage Story, because I think Marriage Story comes with the little like notes they have in the movie, and it's a movie that was produced by Netflix. So I feel like it's just cool that Criterion is able to bring these Netflix original movies to physical media because you don't really see that. And I just think it's cool when they have like interesting decor, or, like unique things that come with the movie. So those are probably the three that I think of that are my favorites. But again, it's hard to pick just one.
Absolutely. Compared to each of you guys, I'm probably not as big of a physical media. I probably don't hold the same, sentimental like collecting all the criterions and stuff. I'm not as big of a physical media guy as much. I mean, it's not that I obviously don't see the importance of it. I just haven't kept up my collection. My family collected a bunch of DVDs as a kid, and I still have some of those. My
And I took
favorite,
some of those too.
yes, he did. Yes, he did. Because back when we were cleaning out, because we had a lot of stuff from our old house and cleaning those, like we had a bunch of old DVDs, and so I had Yash kind of go through all of them and be like, "Hey, any ones you want, you can go ahead and take them."
It
And
really felt like I was back in like Hollywood Video or something and just picking movies I could just take with me. And I picked almost exclusively movies I haven't seen. I think I picked like two movies I have seen and like nine movies I haven't seen. And I watched all of them on DVD, which is awesome.
That's great to be able to do that. Like, yeah, and I'm sure we'll talk about it more, but that's an experience that is dwindling, and I'm glad that I could, at least on a small scale, I'm glad I could recreate that experience for you, Yash. But
For
I
sure.
think
Also, I
my
remember oh sorry, say your favorite first.
yeah, so of those DVDs, my favorite is a copy of The Graduate. My dad had had for a while. It was also like his favorite film. So one of ours is our old copy of The Graduate. It's one of my favorites, and I still have it here. That's my favorite movie, or that's my favorite, physical media from that batch of those old ones. I do have another answer, and it's kind of a interesting one. So this was sort of like a gift I received like a long time ago, a Christmas gift. But do you remember ESPN? They used to do, or they still do, those like sports documentaries. They'll make every so often those 30 for 30 sports documentaries. So that's also, yeah, like if there's something I love, it's documentaries, specifically like sports documentaries, something I've always loved. So what I got as a gift is I got the entire collection, and they probably have about 100 of them now. I guess this was back when I was in high school. The entire collection just in a giant box set that's shaped like a locker. And so I actually have it here, actually. And you can open it up,
Ah, nice.
and it's got all the movies, all of them inside here, and it's a kind of a super cool. And there's at least 100 movies in here.
It's a
So,
cool set.
yeah, one of my favorites.
That's really
I gotta
cool.
say this, man. One thing about physical media is you're carrying something, and it's just like you could show it to someone and be like, "Yo, check this out." Better in digital media, and it's just like, "Oh, I have this." It feels very black and white. While physical media is like, in front of you. The one that I always wanted, when it comes to sports documentary, was The Last Dance when it came out, and I couldn't get that, and I wanted
Yeah.
it so bad.
Also, a shame about this collection is I got this collection, I guess, before, I got this collection probably, I'm gonna guess 2013, 2014. So yeah. And kind of like looking at the catalog, there's exactly 100 films in here, but actually, some of these are shorts, but yeah, it stops at around 2014. But no, that's kind of the next thing I'm gonna get. Like I want to keep getting more of these. I may get The Last Dance. Oh, and ESPN made the other one about OJ, and I want to get that one too on DVD. These are cool things got physical media. If they made physical releases of those, that being said, you know, I'm honestly not sure if they made physical releases of either of those. I mean, I guess they did, but
Yeah, I mean, over time, it's like I guess you see less and less of it. One thing that we've kind of all mentioned here, I think that's always a really cool part of it is that there's always an opportunity to make like cool cover art or be creative with the design of the media itself. I mentioned the Harry Potter case that I love. I think the locker thing that you showed is really cool. Stuff like that is just really neat. It's you can't do it. You can't recreate that on digital.
no,
And
you can't.
one thing I saw that was really cool recently is I bought Nope on Blu-ray, and in the disc for Nope, like the little circle in the middle of the disc is where the O in Nope would be. And I thought that was just a really innovative thing they did that you just can't see that if you watch it online. Like that's just really cool.
I
Um,
love that. I love that.
those kind of things I think are what I look for.
Yeah, I think the collectibles is like you collect these more as a collectible than you would. I mean, I feel like you would collect these the same reason would collect action figures. Like, as opposed to this is the only way you're gonna be able to see this movie because obviously, hey, if I lose a copy of this movie, it's gonna suck, but there's about 10 other ways I can find it. It's not about having a copy of the movie anymore. Well, I mean, it might be, but like it's about the collectible factor.
Yeah, and
For
we'll get
sure.
more into the reasons, I guess, why we love it, but I think a big part of it is just how these movies have like sentimental value for us. Like I know the biggest thing I come across is people who don't collect physical media, they can't really grasp why I'm spending all this money to buy a Blu-ray or 4K. And I think that's hard to explain to someone who doesn't get it, I guess. Like to you guys it makes sense, but to others it's like how many hundreds of dollars have you spent on this movie collection? I'm like, I don't know. I haven't kept track, but like this Criterion shelf alone is probably like 400, $500. Like, but somebody, you were saying something?
Yeah, when Zach was just saying about movies like, getting sold out or something. So when I think it's called this movie studio that I can't remember right now, but they do like special promotions. They did one for The Dark Knight, The Dark Knight Rises, and Batman Begins. And there was a point in which I was able to get Batman Begins and The Dark Knight Rises. They didn't release The Dark Knight then. And then a week later, The Dark Knight came out. And I bought it, right? So I'm excited, right? I got Batman Begins. I got Dark Knight Rises. It's coming in mail. Both, all three of them in 4K. All three of them in the Steelbook. Limited collections with them. I'm like, this is perfect. This is amazing. One of my favorite trilogy, as uh, people might have seen our previous episode we did over Batman Begins. I got Batman Begins. I got Dark Knight Rises. But the Dark Knight it came, and I was like, all right, it'll come in mail. It never did. I never got it. And to me, that had hit the hardest because I wanted it so much. I was like, this is the perfect trilogy. As I always talk about Yash, it's that once a movie hits the perfect trilogy, like if any movie hits the perfect trilogy, it can go down. They made it. That could go with Planet of the Apes with the reboot. Even though this year they came with the fourth one, but that's a different trilogy. Like the Caesar's trilogy. That's the perfect trilogy. The Dark Knight. That would always be the perfect trilogy. Uh Creed. I actually like Creed. I like the first three. Perfect trilogy. So once you hit a perfect trilogy on like Steelbooks or any Blu-rays or 4K, it's almost like a collection itself. Like I want to keep this, I want to hold it for the rest of my life.
Yeah, for sure. And I remember when we got a 4K player not too long ago, I just bought a bunch of my like favorite movie series on 4K just to have them because so many of those series, like I have some on DVD, I have some on Blu-ray, and it's just not inconsistent. So just like buy the whole series. And I think that's a good point. Like when you have a good movie series, it's really cool to have like a box set of that series. Okay, so on to our next question. What is the piece of physical media from your childhood that you feel like you used a lot or like really just a standout, or you have like a funny story to go with it?
Okay, for me, I have to say it's my collections of Jurassic Park movies. And I'm talking about the original one. I have that baby in VHS. Two of them I have in VHS. I have multiple copies, also bootleg DVD of Jurassic Park. If you live in Pakistan, you know exactly what I'm talking about, or in India. Bootleg is the way to go. I illegally downloaded in Jurassic Park. Sorry, kids.
How could you,
Uh,
Samid?
uh well, sometimes drastic times, drastic measures. Uh, let's see. When I started to work at Target, the first movie I got was Jurassic Park in DVD. And then I got it in Blu-ray and DVD. When it came in 4K, I got the whole collection in 4K. And now I have Jurassic Park Ultimate Trilogy, where we just came with all three. I have separate copies for all three in DVD. I have a steelbook collection of Jurassic Park in the 4K, Blu-ray, and digital copy. So to me, if someone says to me how big of a Jurassic Park fan I am, I can pretty much say I'm a big Jurassic Park fan when it comes to physical media. And as much as people can give hate on Fallen Kingdom, Jurassic World, or Dominion, guess what? I love them all. They might not be like amazing movies, but to me, they will always be amazing. And this is coming from a guy who collects like as many Jurassic Park movies as humanly possible.
Yeah, and I remember when we may have mentioned it in the Jurassic Park episode a few years back, but I know when Dominion came out, me and you talked about it because you're a big Jurassic Park fan, and I actually own most of the Jurassic Park movies as well. But I think there was a moment where we talked about how Dominion is a great movie if you take out the whole subplot with the bugs, which is how they
If
get
they
the
would
old
have just
cast
take out
involved.
just take the bugs off. Why do we have to get the bugs? I could go on a rant about this, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to.
But yeah, I guess for me, I don't have like a I just remember that DVDs would get scratched and we'd use them a lot as kids and then they wouldn't work anymore. Like that's like a big thing that would happen with the movies I'd watch a lot, the Harry Potter series. And
Uh-huh.
but I would say I'll shout out a special piece of I'll shout out two movies that I had on VHS, which I think when I bought them, like DVD was around, but I there was like a sale at Walmart on VHS tapes, and it was Daddy Daycare and Catch That Kid, and I watched both those movies like 1,000 times each. I'm pretty sure. Like, I mean, Catch That Kid is actually an objectively decent heist movie for its audience. So, like, they rob banks in goat carts, which is pretty cool as a kid. Also starring Kristen Stewart, which is really cool to see. Just a long time
Actually,
ago.
a kid, for some reason, like I have no memory of that movie at all, but I remember Daddy Daycare extremely
Yeah,
well.
of course. Daddy Daycare is a modern classic. I mean, it's so
It's a
funny.
classic.
So
Um,
iconic.
Uh,
So
but
iconic.
but I remember
I'll
with
watch it even now.
oh, I mean, Daddy Daycare, as bad as it sounds, is my introduction to Eddie Murphy. So, that speaks a lot about what generation I'm from. I watched a lot more of his stuff now as I've gotten older, but yeah, those two VHS tapes, and I watched them a lot because we still have the TV. I don't know if we tried to make it work, but it had some issues recently where it's like a built-in VHS and it's like a small TV. And we kept it there was a room in my mom's salon where like we'd go there after school and like hang out until she was working. And those were like the two movies we had. We had three movies. We had Daddy Daycare, Catch That Kid, and Toy Story 2. So I just watched those three on rotation like most days after school. And it's so funny because I had three options basically, and now we have like hundreds, thousands of things we could watch at the push of a button. And back then I was like, which movie are we watching today? I know what the options are. And somehow having limited options made it easier to choose. So those VHS tapes,
Gotcha.
which I think my dad threw them out actually, unfortunately, but they're very special to me. They had their time. So yeah, Ryan and Zach, what do you guys feel? Any special physical media from your childhood?
It's funny. So probably my favorite piece of physical media from my childhood. So when I was growing up, even now, I was a huge Simpsons fan. Huge fan of the Simpsons. That was like one of my favorite things. So I have a whole collection. Like I don't think I really have all of them anymore. I might have some, but I had seasons 1 through I want to say 13. I had them all on DVD. Like I had all the box sets on DVD. Specifically seasons 6 through 9, I would watch over and over again. Those were my favorite things. I would go through it.
Yeah.
I've seen every episode about 10 times, 20
If
times.
you
And
own episodes, I mean, see anything from season 3 through 8, that's like gold, dude. Like
It's
that's
like,
oh,
Oh yeah.
yeah, I
um
was, yeah, I was gonna chime in and say like, when season 20 of The Simpsons came out, I bought season 20 of The Simpsons and then following that, I bought seasons 1, 7, and 8, and I think I had those on repeat. Like every time I ate dinner, I could just pop one in and just watch like a quick episode. No commercials. It was awesome, and it was anytime I wanted. So
and this brings up
oh,
an interesting topic because I watched seasons 1 through I want to say 18 or 19 of The Simpsons over the last 3 years. I went far. I thought I could make it all the way, but I did hit pause on watching The Simpsons. But I love the series, and what's funny is that Disney Plus has removed an episode for whatever reason. I mean, we know the reason, but it's dumb. Um, so I had to go watch that online because it's not on Disney Plus, and it just bothered me that I had to skip this episode, which is also a great episode, season 3, episode 1. Um,
great episode.
and it's funny because Disney Plus over the last like year, they changed their model to where like you can pay more and be ad free, and I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. So $7 is all you're getting out of me, Disney. And if you keep making shows like The Acolyte, I'm not even gonna give you that. Anyways, on to the next
I still
thing.
need to watch that.
No, you
I
don't,
think
dude. It's
is
bad.
it that bad?
I just appeared on my friend's podcast to talk about it, which will be dropping soon. So I'll just share that with you once it's out.
All right. All right.
Now they have ad breaks. So now when I'm streaming something, there's ads, and it feels like I'm watching it on television, which has always been the case for my Hulu account, but it's becoming more and more prevalent in all the streaming platforms. like Amazon Prime, Hulu, and Disney Plus, they all have ads, and I worry that we're going backwards with streaming sometimes. But that's really cool because I don't have a lot of television. I own Game of Thrones seasons 1 through 7. Yes, 1 through 7, not the last one. And I only bought those because I didn't have an HBO account back then. And I just wanted to watch the show. I just bought them. But they're pretty cool box sets. I've always thought about buying some of my favorite shows on physical, but I just go back to like, will I actually use it? But also, why not? Um,
Yeah.
The one that I always wanted to get, even though it's like, dude, why do you want to get it? It's The Last of Us. It's like I played the video game, I seen the show. I mean, me and Yash, I saw. I think what was it, episode 4 we saw together? Was
for
it?
The Last of Us?
Yeah, remember? We watched
Oh
episode
yeah,
four
because
or five.
you were visiting me around then, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Dang,
And
that was that long ago.
yeah, it was that long
It
ago.
take a long time to make
And
these
now
games.
it's yeah. And what was it? Every time I pass by it, I'm like, yo, I'm gonna get the 4K. But then you're like, oh, but do I need to? I mean, HBO Max already has $8 for me every month.
And that's the thing, like you bring up The Last of Us, and it brings up one more topic I wanted to bring to the table is that we're talking about physical movies, but my love of physical movies translates to everything. Like video games, I don't like to download it. I like to purchase the disc if I can. I made it a point to get a PS5 with the disc tray because you can get the digital one for $100 cheaper, but I'm like, no, I want to be able to play the games that I already own. And like it just that's a whole other thing. When it comes to like I got into collecting vinyls recently, which is a cool way to collect music, I think, if you have albums you really like. A friend of mine described it perfectly. When we were talking about it, is like buying something on physical media is almost like the highest stamp of approval you can give that piece of content. Like this is so good that it's worth buying on physical media. And I
Love
think
that.
that's a cool way to put it for how I look at buying movies now. I used to buy movies regardless of if I liked them or not, I guess, or like how much I like them, but now I kind of try to limit it to the movies I think that I will watch again or I really like or appreciate. And one more aspect I wanted to bring up is I'm the same way with books. I've never got into e-reading. I've never tried audiobooks. But just the feeling of having a book in my hands is just like I can't recreate it, like no matter what I do. So I'm also the same way with books. So yeah, my love of physical media translates to pretty much all forms of art.
Going back to kind of what you were talking about like video games, like I think that's like I don't know. I almost see that as the last that bastion of where owning physical media is basically still the expectation. I mean, I don't think most people own movies as opposed to just streaming. Certainly, people don't own CDs as
Yeah, of
opposed
those
to
four that I mentioned, I
streaming.
think movies are like they have the most like niche like market at this
Yeah.
stage.
But with video games, it's interesting you bring it up because that could move into that. It can move into a digital sphere and even a streaming sphere. I know when people were talking about with the new NCAA video game that just came out, and then with GTA 6 of possibilities of like people were toying around with, well, instead of paying $60 up front, how about if it's a streaming and we just people charge, for the amount they play it, which would be a big deal for video game users.
Mhm.
Well, that would be a huge hell no for anyone who plays video games
I
because
mean, Xbox Game Pass does exist, but we're not an Xbox podcast. We're a PlayStation podcast, so
wait, what
Yeah.
is
Hell
it's like
yeah.
it's like a streaming service for games, basically.
I'll
I
be
know.
honest, I'm sort of ignorant on that. I didn't
Yeah,
realize.
no, it's already in the works. Like it's that model exists for gamers,
Man,
but it's very The thing is, I don't really see that as a good model for myself because I don't spend that much time playing games anymore. Like maybe if I was like younger, still a teenager, that's really cool, but I play like one game every like 3 to 6 months. So
yeah.
cost wise, it's about the same to buy the game. Because I don't buy them full price too often. I buy them when they're like a bit older. But what's interesting to compare with video games is that video games still, when they release, are $60 to $70, and with movies, nowadays they start out at 30, but I think the pricing decrease tends to happen faster, in my opinion, like from what
Oh
I've
yeah.
noticed. Depending on the demand of the movie, I mean, Oppenheimer 4K stayed at 30 because it was like flying off the shelves, because of what something Chris Nolan said, which was crazy to see a physical movie being sought after for so much. But yeah, I think it's pretty cool that the guys in this podcast and myself still love the old fashioned, like they say in Skyfall, sometimes the old ways are best. That's one of my favorite quotes in the movie. So
I have two that I still own today. I have my
Ooh,
ooh,
classic.
I have my VHS copy of Toy Story 2, which is the best Toy Story. It came out the year I
Of
was
course.
born, and I love it so much. It means a lot to me.
I'm pretty sure I had that one,
Dude.
but our slipcover came off. Like it was just an
Yeah,
empty case with Toy Story 2 inside.
that's funny.
Yeah,
But
we drew on it too because it was
yeah,
blank.
yeah, this is one of them when I was very young. But I guess like another like DVD that I can really vividly remember, like buying and watching so many times is this DVD copy of Big Lebowski that my dad and I bought from Blockbuster in Alvin. It was like $3.99 when we bought it, brand new, and now it's such a crazy price for a brand new DVD of a classic. And I've seen this movie so many times, it's not even funny. I could probably quote every line in this film. That's how many times we've watched it, and it still works for a DVD, being like I don't know, 14 years old or something like that. So, um, yeah, it's pretty cool that it still works, because a lot of DVDs don't really, they can last like 10 years, but if you watch them on repeat and repeat, they tend to scratch more. This DVD's still kicking in, so it was still kicking it. So
That's awesome. I mean, I think these things will become relics when we're older,
oh yeah,
and they'll be cool things to have. So that's awesome that you bought it from a Blockbuster because I remember buying a few movies from Blockbuster when they were like either they were closing it or I don't know what the reason was, but we definitely bought a few movies from that. And speaking of buying movies in a store, I mean, one of my favorite things to do used to be to go to Best Buy and just look through the Blu-ray shelves on Black Friday. But I know they're phasing them out, which is a bit of a bummer. Big topic that has come up, especially with me and Samid. We'll talk about how they're like limiting the amount of movies they keep in the store, which might be parallel to how retail is kind of shifting over the years with online shopping. But that's a whole other topic, which we won't get. This isn't a business podcast, so we're not going to do that. Okay, so the next segment of the show, or for today's show, is I'm going to list these 10 reasons that I personally love physical media. I'm going to go one at a time, number them off. These are not like a top 10. It's not like ranked in any way. It's the first 10 things I could think of. And we may have already mentioned some of them, but it's just to give the listeners like a cohesive list of why we love physical media. And I'm gonna say a reason, I want you guys to say like I agree, you can give us a little bit more. But I want your take on all of these reasons. And if I leave out any reasons after the 10, please share them afterwards. Sound good?
All right.
Alrighty. So reason number one is just the simple reason of the aesthetic of a movie shelf. There's nothing like showing your personality with a physical media shelf of things. And I think it adds so much flavor to like any bedroom or like movie theater room. Like same thing with a bookshelf. A bookshelf or like any kind of shelf of physical media makes it's so much more nicer to look at than like a digital library. So that's my first reason.
Agreed.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
like especially if you own like a lot of criterions and you have them all on like a really nice shelf with the spine numbers and everything, and all like the different colors that each disc has, it's really appealing kind of to the eye of just looking at all your criterions just kind of there. It's
Yeah, I totally agree. And I recently took a smaller bookshelf that I was no longer using and made that my Criterion shelf, which after July is a lot more full than it was at the beginning of July. But it's really cool to see all of your like I am very proud of my physical movie collection, and I've seen people see it for the first time and they're just like in awe of it because it's like over a decade of collecting movies, and it's no small task. And I think it's just a cool thing to have. I remember when we built the shelf itself, it was a very exciting day because I was keeping my movies in like boxes and like, like decorative boxes and like different like containers for a long time. And it was just nice to be able to put them all on display so I can see them all at once. Okay, so the next one, reason number two is that there are a lot of cool, unique physical releases like Criterion Collection, Steelbooks, special editions, anniversary editions, a variety of different types of Blu-rays exist. Upgrading a movie to 4K when you have it on Blu-ray or upgrading it to Blu-ray when you have it on DVD. I think just I recently just picked up Titanic on 4K, one of my favorite films, and the one I had before that was an anniversary edition, which was like includes like the 3D Blu-ray, DVD, like it's like a pretty bulky Blu-ray, and I think it's just cool to see like what they do for the fans of that movie. Like for Jurassic Park, I mean, I'm sure they have like newer editions of it, anniversary editions, and it's just cool to see what they do.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely.
That sort of also goes into the collectible aspect. The fact that there's so many variants of it makes there's reasons to own for copies of a movie you already have because, it's the special edition. Oh, it's the steelbook. It's that sort of thing. So I think that's a
I've bought a few films that I already have on Criterion, like Parasite, Uncut Gems, just to name a few, because they announced them on Criterion at unexpected times. So you never know if you're gonna buy a movie too soon. So yeah, I agree. I mean, buying a movie again, usually there has to be some kind of incentive, but I can usually find it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of the opposite where I'll buy like a VHS copy of a film that I've had a DVD of it for decades, or yeah, for probably most of my life actually. And I saw a VHS tape of it, and it was only like 50 cents at a thrift store down the road from me. So, like,
I mean, I would love to get into VHS collecting if I had a
yeah,
functioning player, but I
yeah,
don't.
yeah.
you definitely need a player, and you have to just accept the fact that the quality is not as great,
Oh
but
yeah.
it's
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
always,
Yeah.
that's
but it's
that.
fun.
But there are people who are chasing that like old school look too.
Yeah,
Like people will like mod their TVs to make it look like that sometimes. So,
Love that.
that's pretty cool that that's out there.
Like I really do wish VHSs had the same kind of shelf life as like vinyl does. So people would just go out and collect, VHS. Like imagine if collecting VHS was as cool and had that same, connotation as collecting vinyl does, where now everyone's doing it.
yeah,
Give it 5 more years. Give it five more
exactly.
years.
See, I'm already ahead
They're
of the
gonna
curve.
And
Just
Ryan just an early adopter. He's
Brian,
yeah,
Brian is the guy who always goes to Thanksgiving, talks about cryptocurrency before it was cool. He's like, yo,
yeah.
crypto's gonna go up. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. We're like, yeah, sure, Ryan.
GameStop, GameStop. I
GameStop,
predicted
GameStop.
GameStop.
Yeah.
Man, all these business topics keep coming up organically. I love it.
We're not a business podcast.
Shout out Mays
Or,
Business School.
all of us with business degrees are here
Did anyone see
talking
the
about
stock?
business.
Did
Huh?
anyone see the stock market today? It's like crashing.
Oh yeah, it's been like in the red for like a while.
Yeah.
That's all I
Well,
really
we
know.
know there's a recession coming, so it's like, yeah, obviously.
What this
What do you
podcast is about now.
Oh, yeah, man, you just gotta watch the market, read the journal. Oh, okay. Anyways, well, because we brought up business, I'm gonna shout out HBO's Industry. Very good show. I started recently, kind of underrated. I'm enjoying it. I don't know what the heck they're talking about in it, but it's a good show. I know when in that show it's always like, should we sell it? Should we buy it? And it's like, okay, what's good and what's bad? And it's good show. Season 3 is coming out soon. I'm not sponsored by HBO. I'm just saying because I want to. Okay, moving on. Oh, also, Zach, actually speaking about this second reason, I remember finding that special edition of Citizen Kane at your house. I really want you to highlight that.
So my mom and dad, so they had a special edition of Citizen Kane at their house as part of their collection. A special edition. I think it was for the 50th anniversary. So the movie came out in 41. They bought that in 91. And so yeah, and it had a VHS of it, special edition, and it also had a copy of the script in the box set. So like a full big copy of the script as part of it.
Which is very cool if you've seen David Fincher's Mank, which is not my favorite movie. It's like knowing the chaos that was writing that movie is just kind of cool to see that the script is something you have. It
Yeah.
reminds me a lot of how A24 sells a lot of their popular scripts on their merch site. and I think it's just you were an early adopter again, yet again.
Yeah, absolutely.
There it
Um,
is. Oh, that's such a good film. Ryan is showing us his script of 20th Century Women. Great film by Mike
Amazing.
Mills.
Yeah,
That's
it's
good.
I bought my sister the Ladybird script for her birthday, and then she bought
Nice.
me this for my birthday.
Yeah,
And
I need to get
Oh,
some of
that's
those.
cool.
it's so nice. It's so pretty. It's so like oh man, it's so, God, and the script's so good. This film is
Yeah.
so good.
And I think that's an even more niche type of physical media, like buying a script of a movie you love, but it's so useful if you're an aspiring writer or you just want to see how the movie started out before it came through to become the true vision. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah,
I need
and
to get one of those.
Yeah, they're always adding more to their site. I haven't snagged one yet, but it's my birthday month. Maybe it's time. All right. Reason number three is that watching physical media is a guaranteed way to always have the movie, and it takes control away from the streamers.
yes.
And you know,
Yeah, totally.
there are many situations I've come across where I want to watch a movie on, like, let's say Netflix, and then it's taken off Netflix, and there's no real guarantee it's going to come back.
True.
So this is a way to, Blu-ray and 4K is pretty much as good as it's gonna get. It's not gonna evolve into anything else, I don't think. So if you have a movie on Blu-ray, you're probably safe. You probably have it for the rest of your life. I mean, I would say. I don't like the VHS to DVD to Blu-ray cycle happened very quickly, but I think it's happening much slower now.
Uh, I remember I was reading one thing about an article about like how well maintained you can keep uh like your physical media, and they were talking like in history point of view about like how VHS to DVD, the lifespan cycle of a VHS, and I think it was something about it was 2 to 3 years or something on a VHS, which is complete bullshit. DVDs is probably about 7 to 8 years. Blu-rays are probably 20 to 40 years, and 4K is probably double of that. But you also got to think of this as kids that we grew up with. How did we really didn't take care of our physical media that well? We really didn't. I mean, for me, I would say when I really started to take care of my physical media disc was probably around 8 years old, 9 years old when I got my PS2. When I got my PS2, that's when I actually was like, no, I got to keep this safe. Got to keep it in a box and keep it that way. And since then, I have always kept my disc in that box. It keeps it safe and it looks nice on a wall. Like one of the first things we talked about. It looks nice on a wall. It's like you have your books, you have the physical media, and in this case, your PS4, PS5 video games, or if some people have the Xboxes, well, that's you. No judgment, but big
A
judgment.
little bit of judgment. I
Uh,
don't
yeah, big judgment. I mean, come on, they don't have good games in Xbox. Yes, I said it.
I mean, they haven't made
Only
it.
Halo, Gears
I
of
mean, yeah,
War.
Halo and Gears of War are kind of old now, though. Like we need some
Yeah,
Last of
they don't have
Us
Spider-Man
or
2 on it.
God of War. We need Spider-Man
Yeah, they don't
2.
have the classic.
Oh boy, they don't have any good exclusives. I'm sorry, that's canon.
Yep.
But they have Xbox Game Pass, which I'll give them that one. They won that round. But for now, they won the battle, not the war. Anyways, what was I saying? Yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying there. I will say that my mom tells me stories about how I treated physical media when I was really young, and I actually would make sure it would end up in the case like as an infant. Like that's actually kind of wild to me, but it kind of makes sense looking back. Because I feel like when I was a younger kid, like when I was 8 to 10, I didn't take that good care of it. It was much worse. So I was really good at the beginning, and I'm good now, but somewhere in the middle, my care levels
You
decreased,
have
I
a
guess.
gift. So
I
like
do.
so it means you've always had that gift.
I will say, according to my mom, which is the best source of those years, because I don't remember. Okay,
As I think your mom was telling me one day, it's like, oh yeah, remember you went to Niagara Falls? And we're like, did I?
I did.
It's
And
like,
then I went
yeah.
again because I didn't
Uh,
remember the first time. Oh yeah, that's a kind of side note, my parents have said I've been to the Grand Canyon and I have no recollection of it at all. So I need to go to the Grand Canyon. Anyways, we'll move on. Actually, also, I said 10 reasons, but I might have miscounted, but we'll see. This is kind of maybe a silly one. Maybe not everyone will get this, but you don't need good Wi-Fi to enjoy a movie. If
That's
your
true.
Wi-Fi crashes, you immediately start seeing pixelated images on streaming services, and it bothers me to no end. Um, and I'm like, it's 21st century. I feel like we should do better than this on streaming. But when you pop in a Blu-ray, as long as you have electricity, you're good to go for the whole time with no interruptions. So that's another reason I love physical media.
Oh, I definitely agree with that. I feel like everything is becoming much more dependent on our quality of our internet connection, you know? Everything is, and it's nice to have a couple things that aren't. Because you used to now you can't like listen to music, a lot of people, because the way they listen to music requires internet. The way people watch movies requires internet, that sort of stuff. So it's nice to have, and yeah, and your quality of the film isn't changing just because of your internet service too. If you bought it in, if you bought a Blu-ray, your Blu-ray is gonna stay the same no matter what your internet is.
For sure. And it's really just, as long as you have a decent TV and you have a Blu-ray player, you're all set. Because we did have this like really old TV in my old house, which was really big, but it was an old school big TV, and like the quality just wasn't that good on there. And when I got my first Blu-ray, which was not at the museum, by the way, it did not really look any different than a DVD. But then I watched it on like a proper HDMI setup, and I'm like, okay, this is a good Blu-ray. Because I remember my friend came over to my house and he's like, I've never seen a Blu-ray movie. We watched Night at the Museum. And he's like, I think it looks kind of the same. And I was like, hmm. And then I found out why. It's because our TV was super old. But shout out to that thing. That thing was in our life for like a long time. It withstood all the hurricanes and all the storms, literally and figuratively. All right. So next reason for me is obviously nostalgia is a big part of it. In our Treasure Planet episode, I did mention there was this one summer where I went to Hollywood Video and got 3 movies every week, and I think that was a very pivotal pivotal year of my life where I fell in love with watching movies, and just the feeling of not knowing what movies I was going to get was so exhilarating and so fun. And I think that's something that only belongs to our generation. We're the last of the real ones, as they would say. Um, and I think that's really cool. Also, when I first got into buying movies, it would just be like movies that were available at Costco. Like parents would go to Costco and like tell me what's there. And that shelf has also gotten smaller over time. Um, for Costco and Sam's Club, to be honest. Like I used to see like the latest movies would be on display. There's not anymore. Most of my shopping is now on Amazon or the Criterion website, one or the other,
Mhm.
or Barnes and Noble, in fact,
Oh yeah.
because of the Criterion sale. But yeah, just I think the nostalgia of it is like I just happen to be part of that age group, which I think you guys are too, like where we grew up watching movies this way, and it just takes us back to that time in our lives.
I
No,
mean,
absolutely.
at least I go to at least like a thrift store once a week and check out their VHS and their DVD collection. And I probably have bought like 20 DVDs and VHSs, maybe 30 in the past like 6 weeks there because everything's like 50 cents. And it's crazy how much movies people just donate to like thrift stores around and like places around here. A lot of people are just constantly getting rid of their physical media collection. So I mean, we're just in that age where the average person like doesn't really see a need for DVD or VHS, but that leaves room for us to come in and support these films and these stores that do great things like that.
Yeah, for sure. And I remember I was at a thrift store not too long ago and I saw their movie shelf and it was pretty full. Like there were a lot of movies in there, like on Blu-ray as well, not just DVDs. Like people are just
Yeah,
giving away their movies.
yeah. Like I saw a Big Lebowski 4K, and I almost got it, but I don't have a 4K player. So, and it was just at the thrift store. I was like, wow, I can't believe people are just getting rid of this great 4K, and it was like $2, and I was like, wow, that's crazy. I should have got it, but
Yeah, no. I mean, it's always hard to know if it's the right choice to buy something like this because you're like, do I need it? It's like, no, but I want it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the next reason I think we've kind of glossed over it and talked about it, but not glossed over. I think we've already touched this point is that, it's just a hobby. I like collecting things and it's fun for me. It's like retail therapy, I guess.
Yeah, I can see that. Well, also, it ties into your first point. That's like building your movie shelf is a way to showcase your personality and show your hobbies.
Yeah. But I've always been a fan of like having a poster on the wall or like wearing a funny t-shirt that's like a movie reference. That sort of stuff is just cool to me. And I think it's really the search of the most unique media I can find. Like I have a 6 movie Nicolas Cage collection that I got for like $4. I have a Jason Statham collection. I have like, you know, the way these movies are bundled sometimes, it's so fascinating. Like I just bought a set for $15, 10 sci-fi invasion movies on DVD. And it's just like so I love finding that kind of stuff because there's like no real reason for it to exist, but it's cool. But yeah, I think that's just the fun of finding unique stuff is cool. Yeah, so that
Absolutely.
just as a hobby, collecting stuff is always like when I go shopping, I'm less excited to buy clothes. I'm more excited to buy like games or movies or books or that kind of stuff. I've always been a nerd in that way.
Like you were talking about those 4 movie collection, 6 movie collection. It reminds me there was this bin at Walmart that would just have all those kinds of movies. Those like,
Walmart bin is is the move.
yeah,
Yeah. Recently, I got all 4 Mad Max films on at Walmart in a DVD set like that. So I watched all
Oh,
of them
that's
before I watched
cool.
Furiosa. It was pretty cool.
Nice.
that's
So
awesome.
if you
And
go,
there's a new TikTok trend I saw actually related to this where people go to Walmart, put their hand in the bin and just grab a movie and that's the movie they're gonna watch that night. So that's kind of a fun thing people are doing with that. So if your local Walmart has a bin, it could be a fun TikTok to make and watch something that you have no idea what you're gonna watch beforehand. I'm pretty sure I bought the Shawshank Redemption from a Walmart bin. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
Like the
Wow.
Crazy.
greatest movie of all time, just in a Walmart bin.
What a
Um,
find.
I'm pretty sure I remember because it was the Walmart bin in College Station. I got the Shawshank Redemption, Fight Club, and Shutter Island, all from a bin.
Heck
oh
of a
wow,
bin.
Bangers
yeah,
That
only.
is,
that's bangers on bangers.
man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know
that's
what they were doing in the bin, but I picked them all up because I had never seen any of them at the time, and now they're like in my collection. But I guess that's like another like that ties into another reason I guess that it's kind of fun to remember how you got that movie. Like, did I buy this? Was
yeah.
this a gift? Did I win it at a white elephant like thing? Like where did I get this from? And there's always a story for the special pieces of content in our lives. I can tell you for the most part which ones I bought myself or which ones were gifted to me. One thing my friend David does, and he's terrible for this, is he'll always just find a horror movie that he wants me to watch because he knows I'm scared. And because he buys it for me, I have no choice. I have to watch it now. It's in my collection. But yeah, no, I mean that's how I watched both The Conjuring and this movie called The Wailing. It's a Korean film. Both very good actually. So thank you, David. I know it's from a good place. But you scare me sometimes with those movies. Okay, so I've already said this one, but I'm gonna say it again because it's on the list. I feel like it's the ultimate approval for a piece of content. If a movie is this good, it's worth owning at the highest quality available, which I feel like is Criterion's whole mission to like create that for the best films or most influential films ever made.
Agreed.
So I don't know what number we're on, but I have 2 more reasons. Here's kind of a unique one for me. These last two are actually very unique to me, I think, but you guys probably will agree. But they're unique to me just because of the activities I engage in myself. Okay. So when I host a movie night without a pre-picked movie, it is so much more fun to browse a shelf than a streaming service. Um,
I
you
would
know,
agree.
it's just like when
Definitely.
someone's like put on HBO Max, let's go to dramas. And I'm like, no, that's so lame. Like, let's go look in a shelf and find a movie that some of us haven't seen. I haven't seen in a while. Just had a movie night where I rewatched the film Drive after 10 years. But I know I have the movie, so I'm never worried about it not being somewhere. So I can just pop it in, watch it whenever I want. So yeah, I've always been partial to if we haven't picked a movie, my friend Charles always says, let's just browse the collection. And it's always what we do, and it's perfect. We always find something to watch. It's great.
It's Yash
Yash
Flicks.
Flicks. On yeah.
Josh flicks.
It was called Yash Flicks because I had all these movies on digital too. So my freshman year of college, we would often use my account to like watch movies because most of them came with digital copies as well. And I'm like, we don't need to watch them illegally. I have them. Okay. This one more reason I wanted to go over, and I think this is maybe the most important reason I love physical media, and it's looking towards the future. And
Hmm.
I feel like it ties into a lot of the stuff that like Zach's parents bought, and like you find them in their house, and it's just super cool. But I feel like if I have a collection of physical media, one day I can show my future kids that these are the films I spent my life watching and loving, and here they are in full display. Go crazy, have fun, discover cinema. You know, like I think it's way easier to show something physical to a child like that. Like these are movies you can watch. These are movies you're not allowed to watch. You know that kind of stuff. I just feel like it's just so. I guess like the most sentimental reason is just the future impact it could have. Because my dad used to collect movies before streaming, and I remember he would have a massive shelf of movies, and I thought that was super cool. But he lost the interest over time. He always tells me you're just like how I used to be. I'm like, no, but I'm gonna stay like this. Like I'm not gonna stop buying movies. But yeah, those are
Yeah.
all my reasons. If you feel like I missed a reason or you have your own reason that you love physical media, feel free to share.
I have an extra one kind of specifically about DVDs and Blu-rays, specifically like extra like content. I think that's the most fun. Like the DVD extras and also the DVD commentaries as well are also fun because like like you're not gonna find those on a streaming service. I mean, probably not.
Yeah, I mean, at best, you're gonna find them like somewhere on YouTube. So that's a
Yeah,
good point. Special features are a big part of it too.
yeah, special features are a
Mhm.
big part because, like, I don't know, sometimes when I'm bored, like if there's a TV show I like or a movie I like, if I'm like working, something to listen to, if it's not music, I'll go find like the DVD like commentaries of them and I'll just like have those on in the background sometimes, just have them in my ear. But
Yeah, and what's you just unlocked like a secret memory I just remembered. One of my favorite movies growing up, and I know it's not widely regarded as a great film, was The Pink Panther. I had the DVD of that, and I remember actually watching all the bloopers or like deleted scenes from that movie, and they were just as funny to me as like the actual movie. So it was like watching an extended cut of The Pink Panther when I would just pop those scenes on. So I just remembered that.
I love
Like
that.
there's one scene where it shows his flight to New York, and it's like the most nonsensical flight. Well, you guys got to look up the Pink Panther deleted scenes. It's some of the best comedy you'll ever watch, probably. It's so
Okay.
funny. But I'm
The
biased.
movie's funny already as it is.
It's so funny, dude. Beyonce's finest hour, honestly.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Besides Austin Powers 3.
Oh yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. That's
I
true. That's a
forgot that
good
she was
point.
in Austin Powers 3 for a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Foxy. Foxy.
Also, I have a funny story about the Pink Panther DVD that I'm going to share now because I saw it on a flight. Okay, I had watched the movie on a flight, and I asked my dad to buy it for me, and he went to the store and he saw it there. He grabbed it, and he's like, "Is this movie appropriate for children?" And I'm like, "Yes, like it's PG, like it's fine." Because he kept looking at the Canadian rating, and it was like it said PG, but it said like not suitable for children. And he was like, "Are you sure this movie is good for kids?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I've already watched it. Like it's fine." And then I put it on in our living room or something. I was watching it, and he comes in like the worst part to come into, like Beyonce's like trying to seduce like Clouseau, and he's like, "This movie's not for kids," and I'm like, "It is. It's like it's all slapstick. I promise. It's like a dumb kids movie." And then there's the whole thing. My mom had to convince him that it is appropriate for our age, and we did watch it many times. But yeah, any other things y'all wanted to mention?
Yeah. I was gonna say that like Criterion does a really good job of like adding short films to their criterions. Like for Eraserhead, like all of David Lynch's short films from that era are on this Criterion. And I never seen them before until I bought this and I watched them and they were so weird. So weird. But it was
That
really cool
sounds
to
about right.
see. It was really cool to see like how David Lynch like thought about filmmaking before he made his first film, Eraserhead. and like he never wanted to be a filmmaker. He always wanted to be a photographer or like a carpenter. Like filmmaking was his last thing he wanted to do, and he was able to like combine photography and like painting with film, and it was really cool to see like his earliest work on that Criterion.
No, that
So
is super cool. And it reminds me of I bought the Scorsese shorts on Criterion, which is
yeah,
they have picked out like five of his most famous shorts, like when he was a film student. And it's really cool because I don't think all of them are necessarily great, but you can see a lot of his like you can see the types of stories he wanted to tell early on in some of these shorts. And I think it's always cool to dive back to like a famous director's like origins. I'm like they have following on Criterion, which is the only Chris Nolan Criterion, which we'll not get too into that because that's just not right.
for
Um,
real.
but it is cool to see like it's like an hour long movie, and it's really the only place I could find to watch it was the Criterions. That's why I bought it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, that's really cool that they included all those shorts. That actually makes me want to watch some of those David Lynch shorts too.
Yeah, they're really, and they're not that long. A lot of them feel like like an art exhibit. It feels like you're just watching like art, like you would like in a museum. So
And
they
this
don't
makes
really
me
have a.
wonder that I know Chris Nolan has some short films that I haven't watched yet. I wonder if they're on the following Criterion. I should check that. They might be.
Maybe, yeah,
But yeah, I think that ties back to like special features, unique add-ons, things that they add to like the physical media. Is pretty cool. All right. Anything else, guys?
I mean, if I had to add about physical media is as many people could talk about why do you have physical media when we have today's modern edge, Netflix, Hulu, HBO, Paramount Plus, like all those. Like, what's the point of having physical media when you're going to spend $30 when you could get Paramount, Netflix, Disney Plus, and $20 or less. But one thing about physical media is like I think the one thing that we could all mention is the you have something in your hands. You have something in your hands that you want to share with someone. You want to show to someone. I mean, it's cool. You can be like, oh, hey guys, I have The Last of Us day one on digital media because it's on video on demand. I'm like, all right, cool. But if I'm like, yo, guys, I have the first one and part two of A Quiet Place, or I have all three movies of Creed, The Dark Knight, all those movies. You have something that shows like, oh yeah, what's the proof? And then you show it and you're like, oh wow, he actually has it. That's proof. So to me, it's this physical media will always be there. And I think probably our next question will be about how retails and physical media is like, which we'll get onto the next one. But physical media will always be something that we could all treasure because in the end, even a human element is something we need something to hold by hands. That can be with vinyls. We thought vinyls were dead. Then now look, vinyls made a comeback.
Yeah.
So
Like you said to me, like with, VHSs will make its comeback at some point. Well, it's all about nostalgia. I mean, it's nostalgia cycle. I mean, at some point, DVDs, maybe in 15 years, are going to be the new vinyl or something. It's like, you remember when we used to have these real copies of movies? Isn't that something?
I mean, I was talking to Zach about this not too long ago too, how like there was this crazy like 80s craze that we is still going on and is still part of society, but it's almost shifting into like an early 2000s nostalgia craze now. And I think there's always going to be an element of that, and I think physical media will play a piece in that as well. Like, look
It's,
at this movie I have from 30 years ago on like a DVD.
mhm.
I mean, I got this movie
The
Fall Guy.
Fall
on
Guy, great,
4K.
great film. Underperformed at the
Now,
box office, so pick it up on physical.
so for me, it's like this. A movie like Fall Guy is someone if you try to show this to someone to be like, dude, why did you get it? They'll be like, well, because I love movies. This is something I can hold in my hand and be like, guys, we're watching this tonight. and it'd be like, all right, put on your PS5. All right, great.
Yeah, and I
Instead of
just
4K,
noticed you're showing it to us. It says it has an extended cut on it, which is another
Yeah.
reason to buy physical movies sometimes. If the extended
another
cut,
reason.
which I don't think the Fall Guy extended cut is like necessarily like much better than the original, but it's something you can watch. And also, there are many cases where the director's cut is a much better film. So,
Yeah.
like Ridley Scott films, Zack Snyder films.
It's like
Um,
it's
Ryan
Alien.
is currently holding the Alien director's cut anthology.
Yeah.
Um, which would,
It's
for Alien 3, I heard is a huge difference, like quality wise.
yeah. I'm excited to watch it. I haven't seen it.
But that's also, I guess that's the reason we just left out is that like if it has an extended cut, it's not always going to be on streaming. So that's also a good point to make.
Can I also mention one thing about when it comes to physical media? I just thought about it.
Yeah, of course, go for it.
It's uh one thing about physical media is that you could see uh how different the pictures look throughout the year. You could agree with it as much as low as possible or not. You can be like, oh, I remember how it was. It, I think I was watching Jurassic Park. No, I was watching Twister, the first one. Now, I should get I actually ordered it on 4K in Steelbook, the first one. And there's this particular scene in which our boy, Bill Paxton, it's outside and he's watching the clouds. Now, if you watch it on, I remember I watched it on cable and then DVD and Blu-ray. The sky, you know how they say like, oh, the sky's green, and you're looking like where it doesn't look green. In physical media, when it says it looks green. Like this is coming from a guy who lives in Oklahoma, so he can't vouch on it. But he's like, "Oh, it's turning green." He's like, "Oh yeah, it is turning green. All right." So that's another thing about physical media. Yes, you could put it on streaming services and be like, "Oh, I have it in 4K." But if you have something like digital media, like I'm holding right in my hand with the Fall Guy, it's like I know it's gonna stick 4K throughout the movie. There's not gonna be a drop in which a random internet is gonna go drop. It's gonna go 180 to 720 to 280. It's gonna stay 4K for the rest of the movie.
And that's a really good point you bring up picture quality because some of these older films look a lot better when they've been remastered, for Blu-ray or 4K. One of the collections I picked up recently was there's like a Bruce Lee collection on Criterion. I grabbed that recently. Has I think five of his most iconic kung fu films. And I was
Wow.
watching one of them that's like pretty old. And from what I've read, like its original version didn't look that good. Like it looks a lot better restored and like remastered. So that's also a good point. Because I noticed that even with newer movies like Batman Begins, my DVD of Batman Begins and my DVD of Spider-Man 2 have not aged that well, compared to like how they look on Blu-ray and 4K, which I bought both those movies on 4K as well. I mean, I saw Spider-Man 2 in the theater, which is still the premium way to see a film, as proven by that film. But yeah, no, that's a good point you bring up. Like the picture quality is really noticeable in some of these older films being re-released to Blu-ray or 4K.
I mean that goes with the scene in Jurassic Park and when the T-Rex get out of out of his cage. It's you watch it on DVD, you watch it on Blu-ray, and then you watch it on 4K. And when you watch it on 4K, as a little kid, I mean, you're like, all right, you're scared. But then you watch it on 4K and you're just like, wow, that thing still holds up to today. And it's like, and I've been watching Jurassic Park since I was a little kid, and now I'm like, I just turned 30 in February, and it's just like, it still looks great till today. It still looks amazing when he comes out of that enclosure, out of that paddock, and you're just like, God damn, it looks so good. It looks beautiful.
For sure, for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, we have reached the end of today's discussion on our love for physical media and primarily physical movies. wanted to thank our guests for joining us. Samid and Ryan, thank you for being on our show today.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate it for the selected few people that still enjoy physical media. We still have it, even though if some retailers in today's world are shorting them up or not producing them, I feel like we're still here. We'll still buy them, and we should still keep it to this day.
For sure. Agree with
Yeah.
all of that, Samid.
Yeah, same here, man. I just want to say thank you for letting me be on the podcast to talk about physical media. It's always been a part of my life ever since I was really young, and it's crazy to see how much physical media has changed in my short life, from owning VHS to remembering when VHS was obsolete in the stores, and then the rise of DVD, and then seeing the rise of the continuation of Blockbuster, and then the eventual decline, and then the decline in DVD sales, and the rise of Blu-ray and 4K, which I recently just kind of got on the Blu-ray train. Like I bought a player like 2 years ago for Christmas, so I'm slowly trying to get with the times. I don't have a 4K player, but I'll always love physical media of any type: music, vinyl, CD, cassettes, all of it. I mean, it's such a treat to just own some like a piece of art that you really care about, and the taking care of aspect of it, and the just the long term viability of some types of media. So that's really all I had to say. Thanks.
For sure. It was really nice to have you guys on the show today. And to sum up your points, I'm going to quote a lyric from a song. It's a song called Motto by NF. And in the song, he says, "Yeah, I miss buying CDs at the store and thumbing through the cases, trying to make a choice. Yeah, that don't make no sense to you, of course. See, one man's inconvenience is another's joy." And that's what I want to say about physical media.
Preach.
And it's a great
Preach.
song. Just if you're listening,
Mic
NF.
drop.
Okay. And then now I want to say a big thanks to all of you for listening. If you enjoy our show, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel or leave us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. You can stay up to date with new episodes by giving us a follow on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter/X. And support our show by checking out our available merch, which is linked in all of our social media pages. And with that, we hope you tune in next time.